Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon, 48 times.
Yes.
Because we're celebrating 48 years of independence.
Yes, indeed.
What better way to celebrate a Bajan independence by tuning into your favorite show, Bajan Living.
Yes, it is. And I am Michael Goodman. At least I was when I woke up this morning. I hope I still am. And who's this?
Peter the Boyce.
Oh, good. I'm in the right studio. Right. Yes. So here we are now. What kind of show do we have today, Peter?
We've got a show that continues to be entertaining and also educational. It is November and it is independence. And regardless of how independent we are, we still need to take care of our health. And yesterday was World Diabetes Day. Did you know that?
Yeah, I did actually. I told you.
So we have the second in our special series on diabetes, what causes it and how it can be prevented.
Yes, indeed. And we have a very special report from the workshop at the psychiatric hospital.
We also have a classic comedy clip coming up, a chance for you to laugh. Laugh your belly full. Yeah. And in the studio today we have a Queen's Counsel,
yes,
a human rights advocate,
right,
a penal reformist,
whoa,
an actor, a singer, a basketball player, a president, and a broadcaster.
It's a busy studio today.
Yes, and they all have the same person, and we just have one clue.
Oh. Whoopax! Aha!
Yes, you hear that, Whoopax?
Yes!
In the studio, we have none other than the Whoopax man himself, Mr. Andrew Pilgrim.
Whoopax! Welcome, welcome. Good to have you in the studio.
Thanks for that intro there. I was wondering who the body was.
Oh, well,
so were we.
I thought it was President Obama. He said the president. Yes, we have Andrew in the studio.
Yes, we have.
So, we've got an exciting show.
Indeed. And, of course, as always, we have music to please your ears. And it's all sponsored by Carib Rehab, who aim to keep us able. What would we do without Carib Rehab?
We would not be moving around.
We would not.
We would not be as healthy as we need to be. So thank you,
yes,
Carib
indeed.
Rehab.
And, of course, as always, there's been lots going on this week. That's my attempt at a bit of Bajanese. Gain on. So, talking about Bajan, let's just talk about it.
Oh, let's just talk about it.
What are we talking about this morning? We are talking about what's going on. We are talking about how to be a Bajan.
Yes.
And this was a book written by Harold Hoyt. We are talking about Bajan slang this morning or this afternoon. And you always hear the Bajan slangs. You hear me saying things like, you know them too, Andrew. Cheese on bread.
Oh, I love that one.
Yeah, cheese on bread.
Bread.
White cheese on bread.
Well, I think I know, but I'm not going to get into trouble by saying what that's supposed to sound like.
Why not ham on bread?
Well,
or jam on bread.
Cheese.
White cheese on bread. Then.
Cheese, but don't say that word. Say cheese on bread.
Yeah, and then they have holding a big rock. When somebody tell you holding a big rock, when you're supposed to meet somebody at the door and turn out, you left me holding a big rock then. And then they got two smart rats can't live in one hole. But we wouldn't have that problem here because there's only one smart rat who hosts this show.
Right.
Yeah.
It's going to be
just
one of those
rat.
shows.
Maybe Peter's saying he's the only rat.
Oh, okay.
Exactly,
thank you very much, Andrew.
Thank you, Andrew.
I think I call you a president. And then we have dog luck and cat luck. The higher the monkey climb, the more he show he tail.
Yes.
God don't like ugly. That must be in reference to you, Michael.
Cockroach Shango for cock dance.
Oh, okay then.
Right.
Yeah. Who's the who's the cockroach? You calling me a cockroach?
They call him one
because I would say that.
I think Mr. Pilgrim is absolutely on point today.
Yeah. Be careful when four legs get in a bed. I can't touch that.
Oh no!
You got any, Michael?
No, I'm not gonna.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna.
How you in know where our house live?
Okay then.
Yeah. I tell you what. One of the ones I like because it was kind of they were all new to me, but one of the ones I like because it's so descriptive was Blue Vex. I can actually see it when people just say, I got blue vex, and I can actually see that. It's not just angry, it's not just vex, it's blue in the face.
Normal vex.
I love that. I love that. What else we got?
Yeah, well, we've got so much there. We even got OK Dan. That's one.
one of yours.
I am always
I
using
started
that
using
one.
that.
Yeah, it takes one hand to feed a lice and two to take it out. Better if it don't like set up rain. Hard ears. What about hard ears?
Well, that would work for you.
Yeah, that would always work. Trouble are worse than death. I never heard that one yet.
Kimberly, you got one?
Yeah, I got two actually.
Oh, go on then.
Who the cat like he lick and who he don't like he cake.
Yeah. That
Well,
work.
that reminds you then of cat luck and dog luck.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And anybody familiar with the sow run under the counter?
Me, no. I don't even understand it. What
What
does
that mean, Kimberly?
Believe it or not, the business went bankrupt.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
I thought it had something to do with proper pork.
Nothing to do with pigs.
What, do you know another one? Another one I love, Brotopsy. Brotopsy.
You ain't got no brought up, see?
Yeah, you don't have the
All
broad
right, Lottie.
or another one is you think you met yourself. Yeah, like you met yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, listen, there was one which I quite innocently used some time ago, and you were all giggling and laughing at me, and I didn't know what you were talking about. But, of course, Popsicle explains it all, because if it was Popsicle, he would pick a fare.
Sweet. Well, this is the tropical popsicle. My lyrics are spear, alongside Mr. Air. I getting tired of all the partying. The same thing happening every year. Who ain't walking about here staggering? Alcohol got them head tear. When I sit down and start to compare, he shows them advertisement in here. Out of all the events out there, I would pick a fair. I would pick a fair where nothing bad ain't happening. You could see me there, where decent people are gathering. Check the atmosphere. All who want to declare, just push your hand in the air. If you would pick a fair, stop. So let me go jumping and diggy 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 do my day, who would pick a fair? No, a fair, a fair. Who would pick a fair? Who would pick a I know that's tempting for some of you.
A little boy leaves his ball at the top of the stairs. Dad's rushing to get the cricket. A few weeks later,
Hi, Kevin. How you feeling, bro? Like them wheels, man.
Not too bad, you know, all things considered. Doc says I could be walking in 5 weeks. And talking about wheels, thanks to Carib Rehab, we got some neat equipment like this wheelchair that helps make getting around and doing things much easier.
Carib Rehab. Patient care equipment, supplies, expertise, empathy.
Carib Rehab, caring for you for 25 years strong. Visit the Carib Rehab showroom at Friendship Estates in Michael, Monday to Friday 8 to 4 and Saturday 9 to 12 for personal and professional service.
Bajan Living continues, and we just want to give a credit to the book How to Be a Bajan, written by Harold Hoyt. And if you would like to get a whole lot of Bajan sayings, you need to get Harold Hoyt's book, How to Be a Bajan. In case you don't know, but you should know by now.
Yes, you should. Now, of course, we wouldn't be here at all if it wasn't for Carib Rehab, who aim to keep us able. And, of course, we have lots of reports from them. We have been meeting Hilary Bethel, and we've been meeting Patrick, and we've been meeting the customers as well. And, you know, everybody always has something positive to say about Carib Rehab, don't they, Peter?
Yes, they do.
Including us.
Yeah, and you know, it is very important for Barbadians to take care of their health. And you keep hearing about how all the non-communicable diseases and how you need to keep active. And that is why it is good to know that we have an organization like Carib Rehab, which is there to make sure that Barbadians continue to have the best when it comes to health exercise equipment.
Yeah, and it's also important for Barbados and Barbadians to have good legal representation, isn't it?
Well, of course, because, you know, I feel like me, next thing you know, you get in trouble with the law. And in fact, that happened. I actually
you got in trouble with the law?
Confession to make here.
Yes, I have a confession. I will confess
no.
I remember when I was with my previous group, when we actually had Andrew working on our behalf at a point in time when
That's
we
right.
needed representation, and we thought that we would get the man who is known for standing up for the rights of the individual, and we went to none other than Andrew Pilgrim. Andrew, tell me, what made you decide to become a lawyer?
Well, I don't know if it was really a snap decision, because for a long time I wanted to be a jockey. But then I grew.
Oh, okay.
So after 13, 14, I realized that the jockey position, I had to leave that to Patrick Husbands. We got Patrick wherever he is. I know he's still in the race for that championship. And actually I had a kind of strange experience when I was, I think in fifth form. I was in school. After school, last day of school, in fifth form or whatever form, everybody tend to converge on Bridgetown and whatnot. And I had a kind of experience where I was in a restaurant and me and a security guard didn't see eye to eye. Mm-hmm. And he said I was not buying anything, so he was going to throw me out. He physically threw me out.
Oh.
And it was the first weekend that my parents had ever decided to leave me and my brother alone in the house. And this thing happened. Mm-hmm. So I didn't know. I was like, what should I do? Should I call the police? And first I spoke to one police officer on the beat. And he said, well, I can't deal with that. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, I don't want to just leave this here. I didn't feel I did anything wrong. I had bought something. The man threw me out. My shirt got torn. And I said, I can't take this. So I went to the police. And I met some very sympathetic police officers at the CID. They were very, very helpful. They came. They took statements from everybody. And then I just went in the phone book and I just stuck my finger in and picked a lawyer. And I wrote the company and we got compensation. And I felt even as a little boy, I felt, well, this happened in front of all my peers. Mm-hmm. You know, like all of we would be in school, all of we from Cormier, Harsagoy, Law, CP, St. Lucy's, and Joy, all of us were in town. Mm-hmm. I felt like that was a greater destruction to my reputation than what I got in compensation. So as a result, I said, I would like to study this and find out more about it. Mm. And also, my father, I want to be like my father, Charlie Pilgrim. I want to be a teacher. I want to be a history teacher. Mm-hmm. I love history and I love my father. I want to be like him. And he told me, man, you making sports, you always scrambling to make ends meet when he month come. You better study something else and come again. And he convinced me to try to get into law.
And once you got into law, what led you towards criminal law as opposed to corporate or any of the other branches?
The truth is that I was thinking, well, I should try corporate. Corporate, I figure, well, big bucks and whatever. Because I think a lot of people in a misguided way get into law confused about thinking this is going to make me a lot of money or this whatever. And I was confused and young and not sure. So I went and did a master's in commercial and corporate law at the Centre for Commercial Law Studies at Queen Mary College and University of London. I thought, yeah, this got to be the way. And then I came back. I wound up just kind of going to court. I would just go to court to see how things were working there and what it was about. And I just found it was very unfair. I just found like the proceedings in court generally were very unfair.
This is as it relates to corporate law?
Everything. Oh. I just thought it just didn't seem like the courts were running the way they should.
Okay.
And to be frank, it's probably worse now.
I was going to ask you what's changed then.
Like, I felt something about this isn't right. And of course, if things don't work well for the corporate people, that's one thing. But if they don't work well for the everyday people that go into court on, say, even a traffic summons, if it doesn't work for the minibus man, it doesn't work well for the passenger on the bus, if it doesn't work well for a guy charged with a crime, if it doesn't work well for the victim of a crime, it's really, really, it gets to the heart of your society. Mm-hmm. And I just became fascinated by it, and I've never really turned my back on it at all.
What you've talked before, but I think it's really, really important about the common factors that seem to lead to clashes with the law. Mm-hmm. What are your feelings about, what have you discovered about that?
Well, I think a big part of it is education. You know, Barbados is a very educated society. We're lucky that a lot of Barbadians read still. A lot of Barbadians go on the internet. But we need more programs to make people have a clearer understanding of the law and how to not run afoul of it. And I think that we don't have a great understanding of it. Even, you know, some things that we would consider basic about people's rights in a police station, things that people don't understand. Mm-hmm. And I think if people understood them better, they'd be better able to enforce them. But of course, I think Barbadians as well are very conservative. And we tend to go along with whatever we're told. If an authority figure tells us, well, do this, we tend to comply. Mm-hmm. And that's good in a lot of ways, but it's important for you to know that we are complying with a good direction. And I think that we need to be more educated about what are our entitlements and what we shouldn't be doing and where we can do it and why we can't do it. And so I think we need more education.
And without being stereotypical, what about I guess I would have to use the word types, the types of people that seem to be more at risk of clashing with the law? What do you think are some of those contributing factors there?
Well, I mean, there's definitely big factors. For example, if you drive minibus, there's a real possibility you're going to run into conflict with the law at some time. I mean, even the most perfect driver, you're driving 8 hours a day, sometimes 10 hours a day, every day for 30 years. I was talking to a friend of mine recently in that position, and he's saying, well, you know, people say it's terrible that I have 40 convictions. And I say, well, it does sound like a lot. But then when you say 30 years you've been driving every day for 10 hours a day, probably the 2 speeding tickets that I got in my 30 years driving or whatever, if I had been driving 8 hours a day, whatever, you might find that that's not such a bad record after all. So there's certain groups that, you know, well, these people will more likely run into conflict. Of course, in most societies, young men between the ages of 15 and 25 will likely run into conflict as well. Usually, people will say, well, that's testosterone. A young fella more likely to settle his disputes by way of violence as opposed to discussing it. And so we need programs that deal with anger management and how to resolve conflicts without violence. Things like that are very, very important.
You know, it is said that a lot of young black males are ended up in prison. In the United States, it makes up a majority of the prison population. And obviously, we also seem to have a problem here with young black males too as well. Do you see it as though it is that it is more the young black males that are there that you end up more representing?
Well, because Barbados has a population with a very high percentage of black males, obviously we are going to have a big chunk. In other words, males are always a big chunk because women tend not to be involved in the justice system as much as women. And our population is 98% or 99% black. So there are young white people that get into trouble in Barbados too. And people kind of tend to turn a blind eye and say, oh, it's only the black fellas getting in trouble all the time. But that's more or less, to me, plays out in the percentages. And it's not so much a black problem as a Bajan problem. We need to ask ourselves, why do black people or white people or Bajans choose violence as an option, for example? People need to ask ourselves, why do Barbadians drink so much alcohol? Why do they smoke weed? We need to address those questions and find out why those things happen and if there are things that we can do as a society to prevent them.
What about capture and punishment? And I know you also have quite strong views about that. Does it work, and if not, why not?
Capital punishment.
Yeah.
Well,
just capture and punishment.
Oh, capture and punishment.
You know,
well,
locking people away.
I find the longer that I've been involved in the justice system, more and more I come to find that punishment, especially if it is delayed, does not work. Now, our system suffers from tremendous amounts of delay. So typically, the average Bajan that is getting punished for a crime is getting punished, I would say, 4 to 5 years after he has committed it. Now, if a child goes and touches a hot stove, and he touches that stove and gets burnt, immediately he knows that's something he shouldn't do. Or if he's about to touch it, some people would say, give a little correction, whether it's a slap on the hand or explain, child, you cannot do this. If you do this, there are consequences. That has an effect. But just like the child, if you punish a fella 5 years after the fact for doing a violent act 5 years before that, since then he get married, had 2 children, went overseas and worked in the farm labor program and come back. I mean, what are you really expecting to get through to him about what he did 5 years ago? So the first thing we need to do is find out, can we make our system more effective, more rapid in terms of delivery of justice, so that the victim can see, one, well, look, you did this to me and now you're getting punished right away or soon after, and the perpetrator can see, well, look, I do this, I know I'm wrong, and I can deal with it. Whereas if a person does something wrong, you have 5 years to think about it. Probably you convince yourself he wasn't so wrong after all. You know, people tend to convince ourselves that what we did wasn't so bad, and then the punishment takes less effect, has less of an effect.
We had a story, front page of the news just this week, about someone who you helped. You decided to challenge the system about Her Majesty. It's printed here as Her Majesty's pleasure. It's actually detained at Her Majesty's pleasure, isn't it? It's not that Her Majesty's pleasure is no longer constitutionalism being detained.
Exactly. Her Majesty can still have pleasure
I love
in any
the way
way she
that
wants.
read. But that what I was impressed about with this particular story was that this person actually studied while they were in psychiatric, studied psychology, actually made something of his time in there. How important do you think that is?
If every prisoner could be like Glenrick Gibbs, we would be in a great position, in the sense that Glenrick acknowledged the serious wrongdoing that he was involved in, and he said, look, I want to find out more about what I did. So he started studying psychology. He studied child psychology, he studied adult psychology. He took every opportunity to study, and not just study. He said, well, look, what is there any work I can do here? And he went and he worked in the canteen. He worked in the canteen for 11 years. Then he worked in the workshop for a further, I think, 5 years, and is excellent as a joiner and has all kinds of skills. And I really wish him all the best. He's out there doing his thing now, so I hope everything goes well for him.
Well, it's quite interesting you mentioned that because, of course, we have a report coming up. We did a face-to-face with the nurse that runs the workshop at Psychiatric Hospital. So that's face-to-face, and let's hear that right now.
When we're face to face,
I'm talking to Nurse Stanford Davis from the Psychiatric Hospital, who is the manager in charge of the sheltered workshop at the Psychiatric Hospital. Stanford, tell me about that.
I took over management of the Psychiatric Hospital workshop in February. And ever since taking over the management of the sheltered workshop in February, I find it to be a rather interesting experience. Interesting to know a lot of people that have not realized that the sheltered workshop was in operation since 1971. And we cater for patients in enhancing their vocational skills, helping them to be rehabilitated back into society, helping them to use their hands as well as their mind into something that is concrete, something that's viable, so that when they leave the hospital, they can be of help to their fellow man as well as themselves.
So tell us some of the things that the people produce in the workshop.
We produce anything that is made from wood. If you want a rocker built from scratch, we can do that for you. A bed, we can do that for you. Any kind of chair, we can build it for you. Once you need it replicated, we can do it for you. We just cater for the needs of everything that people have once it is made of wood.
What does it do for patients at the hospital who are suffering from the challenges of mental illness to be able to channel their creativity in this way?
Most of the patients who work are employed in the shelter workshop. They usually go through a session of training through the OT department, which is the Occupational Therapy Department. What this department does, it helps them to build their vocational skills, their fine motor skills, and then when they spend about 2 months in that area, they are referred then to the shelter workshop, whereby we give them hands-on things to do to help develop their creativity as well.
A lot of people wouldn't even know that this workshop existed. How can people find out more about the products that the workshop produces?
You can visit us at the Psychiatric Hospital. You can ask for Mr. Davis, and they refer you to the shelter workshop. Once you come there, we have a host of things on display, chairs on display. We have a whole lot on display. And I'm sure that you will be thrilled at the level, the skill, the work that we produce, because it seems as though many people think that we are not yet visible. But we are in operation since 1971. And we are doing great things, and we offer satisfaction guarantee to those who bring their products to us.
Nurse Stanford Davis, thank you very much indeed, and very best wishes for all the work that you're doing at the Psychiatric Hospital.
Thank you very much.
face to face, and the face to face.
What have I done to my back now?
Gee, my wrist is so sore.
I couldn't turn my head. The pain was excruciating.
Office jobs, easy on the body you'd think, but really they can be the root cause of so much pain and misery for so many. Long hours in front of a computer, all without stretching out those muscles. And then, back pain, stiff neck, aching shoulders, sore wrists. Carrot Rehab to the rescue. Carrot Rehab has the products: back supports, foot rests, wrist rests, adjustable document holders, monitorizers to help you remedy and avoid workstation-related injuries. Carrot Rehab, the specialist in ergonomic and office safety.
Carib Rehab, caring for you for 25 years strong. Visit the Carib Rehab showroom at Friendship Estates in Michael, Monday to Friday 8 to 4 and Saturday 9 to 12 for personal and professional service.
And we continue on Bajan Living. We have our special guest, Mr. Andrew Pilgrim. And earlier we asked Andrew why did he become a lawyer, but we're now moving into the more cultural part of the show, and we're going to ask Andrew, why did you become an actor?
Well, I grew up in a household that was very dramatic. My mother was involved in theatre, she was involved in dance, and my father, Charlie, was always involved in making sport, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
And, well, he's a very extremely serious person. Our household was always talking, joking, making sport, and voices. People upon voice will start talking this way, and then people another voice will talk a different way and get real foolish. And people would just have a lot. We just had a very relaxed household in which my brother David, my mother Grace, my father Charlie, and myself, we were all always making fun and enjoying ourselves. And it was an environment in which one could feel comfortable to express yourself in almost any way. Mm-hmm. And so then also then mummies at rehearsals for different things. We would go along to rehearsal. And then my brother became a very, very talented reciter of poetry and then really a young actor. And he started to do things like Jeanette Lane Clark pieces in the style of Alfred Pragnell. And he would memorize pieces, long pieces, how Maisie Welch get saved and these things. And he would perform them at NIFCA and do very, very well. And like any good little brother, I wanted to be like my brother. So when I think I must have been about 6 or 7, I asked if I could go into NIFCA as well, because he had already won. Now he won distinction and gold award, and he said, well, I want a piece of this in. And I went to do the Banana Man. I don't know if you remember that poem, Peter. I got to live and die a Banana Man.
Yeah.
And I nearly wet myself, and I had to do something. I was so nervous, and to me it was a terrible performance. But obviously my brother was still doing it, and family is still the same family. I still kept wanting to do this. So I just always stuck with it, and when any opportunity would present itself, I would try to do a little thing up to today.
So you would have worked in theater, you would have acted in theater for years, and you also acted in films. You were in Hit for Six,
That's right,
Kite Flyer, even when The Bold and the Beautiful came here a number of years ago.
That's right, you got a little part as a police.
Yeah. So how have you been satisfied with the development of the film industry?
Well, there's still obviously a whole lot to do, but now that we have a number of different groups working, and the film, I don't want to call it the Film and Video Association. I'm sure I'm not calling their title correctly. I know that Lynette Eastman is at the head of it now. And groups like that are doing a lot of work to push film. And so that in Barbados now, there was a time when there were no films. But now you could go and watch Payday. Payday was an excellent Barbadian film. I think I would like to watch it about 4 more times. Every time I see it, I feel like it's hilarious. And the performances, the two young actors that play the lead in that were just amazing, and they need full credit. And I mean, obviously, I wish it was an industry in which I could say, well, I done with this law thing again, and act every day, and act for a living, and go Hollywood and whatever. But I think our industry is really at that kind of tipping point where it may just really start to, really come forward, and I hope it does.
Andrew, you're in big trouble because you didn't tell him how much you loved Chrissy, and in particular his performance in
his performance was phenomenal.
Right.
But I just, I think Peter getting big up enough, right?
You know?
Give any more.
Yeah.
But the point is, there's so many things out there happening now that, you can go and see Chrissy, Payday, Hush. These things, like we started to get Murder doing their
Vigilante, The Crossing is coming soon.
Which you just happen to be in as well.
Yeah. Well,
funny that, isn't it?
Yeah. So we definitely are seeing that we definitely have a more thriving film industry in Barbados. And you also took a hand too at singing.
Yeah, I try a little thing there. I still think my best is yet to come as a singer. And I actually was discussing with a friend of mine, Raspilly. You may not know Raspilly. And he is thinking of bringing out some tracks very shortly as well as some other things I tell you about later. Raspilly getting serious.
We're going to be talking about him a little later. In the meantime, you were in the kitchen cooking macaroni and you had an idea.
That's right.
Tell us about that.
Oh, it was so yummy, man. I really love the pie, and pie is a very Bajan thing. And when we come to talk about diabetes, we'll know that you can't eat too much pie. So you should just take a half portion. Even in the song you hear the lyrics saying I would just take a half portion, because you can't overdo these things as much as you love them.
Yeah.
Well, you talk about the song. Let's hear it.
All right.
I'll search the oceans for my pie, baby. I'll search the skies. I'll go wherever I have to go. Just say the word, baby. I'll go and get my pie. That's what I'll do. That's what I'm saying to you here, right now.
As long as I can remember, we have been together, sharing special moments in time. Others come our way, they may try to tempt me. Our love conquers reason and rhyme. My macaroni pie, my macaroni pie, my macaroni pie, da-da-dee-da-da-da. My macaroni pie, my macaroni pie, my macaroni pie, da-da-dee-da-da-da. Friends, they try to warn me, mesmerizing powers, and they try to keep you away. I will search the beaches, nightclubs, coves and niches, wherever I must go, night or day. For macaroni pie, for macaroni pie, my macaroni pie, da-da-dee-da-da-da. My macaroni pie, my macaroni pie, my macaroni pie, them gal a man a grub, them gal a man a eat, them gal a man a gone, gal a man a eat, them gal a man a grub, them gal a man a eat, them gal a man a gone. When I come a dance as a celebrity, somebody better got some pipe.
Macaroni Pie being sung by Andrew Pilgrim. And the question I want to ask you, Andrew, is you did not get into trouble for singing a love song about Macaroni Pie and overlooking who your significant other was at that point in time. You were able to still go home after singing this song?
Because the song was about pie, you know. It may be that other people interpret it as having some connection to a significant other, but I thought it was just about food. And this thing about double entendre, I didn't really understand that.
Okay. Yes.
Now, what do we got? Who are we celebrating?
We are celebrating that Evadne Scantleberry, the mom of Caroline Scantleberry. She celebrated her birthday this week.
Hi, Caroline Scantleberry, Mom.
And we also want to send out belated birthday greetings to the man, Mr. Andrew Pilgrim, who right here in the studio the 3rd of November. You know, it's 3 days.
It's good to be 25.
And talking of mummies.
And speaking of mummy, his mom, Mrs. Grace Pilgrim, she's celebrating her birthday on the 27th of November.
One of my favorite ladies in the world. Hi, Grace. So, to all our birthday people, a very special Bajan Living happy birthday.
We sing happy birthday to you, and may all your dreams come true.
Happy, happy birthday.
Yes, indeed.
And another great achievement of you, Andrew, is that you were actually the son of one of my favorite headmasters from Combermere.
Yes, I don't know how I achieved it.
Charlie Pilgrim. I mean, I heard you there talking about how Charlie used to.
Peter, I never knew that you'd gone to Combermere. You never mentioned that.
I hear you talking about how it is that Charlie used to go out the house laughing and thing. And I'm trying to figure out how come it is that we didn't used to be like doing all this laughing at school too. I will have to discuss that with Mr. Charles Pilgrim next time we see him at a bar event.
Yes, you will. Well, of course, talking of laughing and laughter, there is something that brings laughter to us every single time. We have the Bajan Living classic comedy clip. And I think you mentioned him earlier. You mentioned Jeanette Lynn Clark and Alfred Pragnell. And this one has particular meaning for me. We were talking about how to be a Bajan earlier, and one thing that struck me, I feel that this was written actually for me to explain something to me. Here is Alfred Pragnell with our classic comedy clip about late Bajans.
You know, one of the things about Barbadians, we're always late, you know that. But there's a little piece that Jeanette Lane Clark wrote about this lateness that I love so much. Something but we way of life here upon this little rock that's got people from over and away in a permanent state of shock. The Americans and the English and other people that has come down here can't understand we system. At least that's what I say. Now foreigners does get on as if the system is a crime. What's so hard to understand about keeping Bajan time? Bajan time real special, yeah? It meant for you and me. I mean, got one damn thing to do with punctuality. A Canadian or a German may think we can't tell time. What them don't know is that we so is experts at how to lime. They should learn that when a Bajan make arrangements for a date at 6:30, that really mean he turn up at 8. It's a matter of understanding that regards to if we said 3, 3:45 or 6. Well, I don't mean one fruits about here. So, what the business we got to do is a matter of urgency. That's supposed to make a difference. What has to do with me? Suppose a meeting organized for 2 or 3 weeks ahead. If it is a matter of life or death, somebody going dead. For a real important appointment to get a little business fixed, when we arrange for 5 sharp, we're bound to be there till 6. But if you got an appointment that concerns something small, sometime after midday, maybe it's not turning up at all. The truth is that we just look at life as one big pantomime. And an expression of we culture is to while away the time. People from over and away don't realize it's the will of fate that don't decide regards to what Bajans will always be late. We's limers born and bred, man. Nothing can change our fact. And whosoever want to deal with, we must get him on the ark. And when you stand fretting, in the sense getting uptight, you got to learn that Bajan time is part of we birthright. The Almighty Jehovah know that. That is why he going to work out a way for we Bajans to be on the late shift when he come on Judgment Day.
I love that, and I recognize that. I recognize that. I fell victim to that when we first came to live here, but it's part of what you call we culture, and that's all there's to it, isn't it?
And our time continues. It's 24 minutes to 1, and we still have Andrew here in the studio. And
I'm so pleased we do.
And we just heard some comedy, and you, Andrew, also took your hand at doing some comedy too, emceeing in the tents. Tell us how it went.
But that was a great experience for me. I probably wouldn't have had the guts to do it without the back end of Boo Husbands, Adrian Boo Husbands, just in a shout out to Boo. Because I had done some minor little shows like at Cave Hill and thing for Caveite.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had tried my hand at it in, I don't know, enough years ago, must be like 1990 or somewhere around, maybe even somewhere late 80s, I think, with House of Soca 1 year, along with my friend David Pilgrim, no relation, not my brother. And it was rough. First night I gone on stage and somebody said, who the blah blah is he? Who the France you think this is? And I didn't know how rough the crowd could be.
Yeah.
A tent crowd could be a very, very rough crowd.
Yeah, if you're not Trevor Eastman or Matt Fingal, is like, who the heck are you?
Who are you? You know what I mean? And so it took a while to actually believe, as Boo was telling me, that I could do it. So I went with headliners and we did, and I had a great run. I did it probably 4 or 5 years, and I really enjoyed myself. And I mean, it helped that the tent was very strong. You had Bag, you had Rick, you had TC, you had Natalie, you had Rupi at one time, you had a plethora of stars, you had Bumba, you had so many talented artists.
So you had some good support.
If you're a really terrible MC, the show would still be considered good.
Mm-hmm.
So it was great to have that kind of cast.
So to what extent did that lead or get you thinking about the TV show?
I think that probably got the producers, got CBC more thinking about the TV show, because I didn't really, tell you the truth, I didn't have it in my plans at the time. But I'm really happy that I did, and that I got to work with Betty Lynch and Rochelle Catwell on that, and they did a really good job and made it very easy for me. I basically would tell them the types of people I would want to interview and so on, and then they just turn up, and then we just go with the flow, and then we created some characters in it as well, and that was really, they made it very easy for me. So big up to CBC, big up Rochelle, big up Betty Lynch.
Well, of course, there's one character that everybody would remember, one of my favourites, Beresford O'Neill Norbert Drakes.
Oh, that's Bond to you.
That was Bond. Let's hear a little bit of Bond right here. Oh, we've got it. We've always got the stuff here. Here we go with Bond.
Beresford O'Neill Norbert Drakes here, high above St. Lawrence Gap, perched in a coconut tree. This is very dangerous, folks and fans, so I don't want you to try this at home. Right now I'm just doing a little surveillance of the missing flying fish. I don't want you to try this at home, but there's some other things I don't want you young people to try at home, and that's illegal drugs. If you want to remain fit and in condition to do the things that I do, to remain smooth and cool, keep confidence in yourself. Leave out the drugs. Okay. I think I better get back down to ground level. Cover me. I'm going down.
And you would not see it on the radio, but he was like talking like he was in this big high tree, and then he said he's going down. He just started, it was just one step, and that was just it.
A dwarf coconut tree.
And I'm loving the English accent. I love the English accent.
And what's really good is that you're doing comedy, but at the same time you're sending out an important message there. Don't do illegal drugs.
That was a good period, I think. Those shows came at a good time for me, and I really relish meeting people like Bond and Raspilly and getting to interact with them. It really was good for me.
And where did that come from?
To tell you the truth, I don't know if I think all Bajans have certain noises that we use when we say we can give when a noise or you give somebody a lash, splatter rocks or fella fall up and you go whoop bladder spladdy. You hear all kind of noises that people use, and for some reason we were playing around in the studio and then we came up with this whoop-ax thing. I didn't really know where it come from. A friend of mine who actually works with me, Ekandayo Barker, says it's him that made it, not me. So I didn't know if he can sue me for copyright later on.
Yeah.
But
hang on. We'll play it one more time.
Whoop-ax!
That is just around another 4 cents. There you
I
go.
was wondering how you made the choice. Why packs and why not Brigadon?
Yeah,
You know, or-
even I heard that one.
Or Wax Palax.
Wax Palax. Bajan's got all these different things. I mean, I remember in one of the Jeanette Lane pieces, she refers to a character as Brigadon Borhog. You know what I mean? So, Bajans love these things.
And Caroline used to do a character called Brigadon too. Brigadon, you idiot!
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
You mentioned Wax Palax.
Wax Palax.
I've
and-
heard about that.
Yes, the late great Carew, a great
Wax
friend
Palax.
of mine.
Bring it on, Wax.
Palax.
Carew back again.
Yes,
in the
and-
party. Wax
And
Palax.
this was also produced by Nicholas Branker.
Good work.
Who worked with
Good
Black
work.
Money Play too. Yeah.
Let's hear it. He's here.
You know, one of my favorite part of this song is when it comes to the end and Carew sings, when I hit Grainer, he gonna holler like a dog get hit with a rock. He sounds like a dog for truth, you know.
Yeah.
You know, I got 3
You
dogs.
sound like a dog.
Yeah, but thank you.
You're welcome.
I have 3 dogs, so I know you have a dog, Andrew.
I do. Amigo.
I have 2.
Amigo.
Yeah.
I have Chip and Dale. No
Chip
comment.
and Dale.
And I have Al Bundy.
Yes.
Queenie. and Trinity. Those are my dogs. As we continue here.
Queenie's the dog, not you.
Yeah.
Okay, then.
And we continue with our guest in the studio, Andrew, and we are now going to talk about your visit to the mother country,
Yes.
Africa.
Oh, I thought you meant England.
You see, you know, that was a debatable thing when John King did his song,
Such a
Mother
great
Country.
song.
Yeah, I really love that song. Does he mean mother country could be England or is it Africa? But you went to Africa several years ago. Tell us about your African experience.
Well, it was great in the sense that both my wife, Bertha, and myself, we had this idea that we wanted to go to Africa so that we could see it not through the lens of CNN or BBC or anyone else or National Geographic. We just want to go and see for ourselves. And we had a really great time spent. Basically, we went first for 2 months, then came back, and then went for 11 and a half months straight. So really it's the second part I really think of as a trip. And we were lucky to have like a friend here and there in a few countries. And when you have one friend in Africa, that means you have many, many friends because they will always let their friends help you. Like if you're going from one, even province to another, you will get the assistance of that person's cousin, sister, daughter, or mentor, whoever. Somebody can be there to help you at your next leg. So we actually, like when we were in Ghana, Bertha had a friend that had been at school with her at LSE in London many years before. And that friend got us a ride to the border.
Mm-hmm.
And so we went to Togo. And then in Togo, that same friend's cousin told us where to stay. Then when we got to Benin in Cotonou, that cousin had a friend who met us at the border, helped us out, told us where to stay cheaply. Because a lot of people feel like the trip was really expensive. But we spent on average $10 a day between the two of us on room and board and food, which is cheaper than living in Barbados.
Wow, it is.
Just a little.
It is.
Just a
So it's
little
really,
bit.
really cheap. And we carried a tent. So if we went to a guest house or a hotel and they said that the rates were more than $10 for us to sleep a night, we would
Put up a
pitch.
tent.
They would usually let you camp in there on the grounds of the hotel. So you ain't
Wow.
camping out in the
You mean for
forest. or
free?
nothing. No, for $2.
$2. Oh.
That's a good
Typically.
idea.
Yeah,
You
that
could
it is.
suggest that to Sandy Lane. I think that would work
Yeah,
really
Sandy Lane
well.
would
They've got
like
plenty of room.
Yeah.
Pitching tents in Sandy Lane.
They'd be very impressed.
I think they would. Tell me about Rwanda, because there was something magical happened in Rwanda. In fact, I'm going to play that right now. We heard Macaroni Pie earlier, and you actually, you sound as if you don't remember this, but you actually performed Macaroni Pie in Rwanda, but you didn't perform it alone, you performed it with the children. Listen to this.
My macaroni pie, my macaroni pie, my macaroni pie, da da dee da da da. My macaroni pie, my macaroni pie, my macaroni pie, da da dee da da da.
I think that's absolutely wonderful. Tell us about that.
I don't think that's Rwanda. First,
Oh, isn't it?
I mean, I sung a lot of songs in Rwanda as well, but I think that is in Dogon country in Mali.
Oh, okay.
Which is deep in the Sahara.
I was going to tell you, I recognize the
You could tell. Oh yeah, Peter would have picked it up
That's
immediately.
right. Yes.
We were just at that stage. We were just hiking in the Sahara, going through Dogon, which is a very, very interesting, very, very hot part of Mali. A lot of that part of Mali now affected by some civil war and so on. But these kids would come along and see these strangers walking through, and they just come and follow us, and we would try to chat with them. Obviously, language barriers and so on. But children are so warm, and children anywhere, they just want to interact. So they would be trying to teach me songs. I'd be trying to teach them songs. And my wife was just having a ball laughing at us, and she would be recording them. I could hear her laughing in that clip, actually. It was just a great experience.
It's so reminiscent of all these videos we see on TV of all the stars, so-called stars around the world, going to African nations and taking help there and being constructive and everything. What's for you the most abiding memory of that trip?
I mean, it's almost a year, so it's very hard to say what is the most abiding memory. But I think the general feeling I got in Rwanda was priceless for me. And why Rwanda was so important is because I went there with my preset notions about how awful this country was going to be. And the first night we were there, sleeping in a guest house, I remember in Kigali, and I woke up, started like in a dream, and woke up from a dream in a cold sweat thinking, oh God, the genocide is going to start again. People are going to be chopping up each other. And what I found was that Rwanda was the most organized, most disciplined, most... everyone was on the page of the leader. And it was the only country in which, for example, people wore seatbelts. The only country in which people wore helmets when they're on motorbikes. It was, and I mean across the board, it was one of the countries where the president said, I am going to put women in more than half the posts in government, and he did it. And in certain things that he did, and he said, I'm no longer buying government ministers Mercedes-Benz or BMWs. I'm buying you, I think it's the smallest Ford you could get. I can't remember if it's Ford Fiesta or whatever. These are what I'm willing to, the government will pay for these. If you want something more than this, you can pay for it. Now, you'll still get a duty-free allowance or whatever, but this is the amount. If that amount was $20,000 or $15,000 US, that is what you would get. So imagine a leader of a government, even in the Caribbean. Imagine, I mean, that would really be a dream in Barbados, saying, we're not buying any more Mercedes, not buying any more big cars. You would sort of see there was an article in the paper last week about it in the Sunday Sun.
Oh, yes.
So the question is, if government is saying, I am willing to cut back from Mercedes to the equivalent of a small Suzuki, and this is the commitment we make to improve in our government, improve in our system. Those kind of things are tremendous. And this is why that trip was tremendous in so many different ways, being on top of Kilimanjaro, seeing all kinds of incredible sights, sharing cultural vibes with people. But for you to go to a country which was torn asunder by genocide and find that the leadership are saying, we are going to do all the things to help make this country heal. Amazing. And we're going to get our people on board. So imagine if, for example, I know y'all got to talk about diabetes later. Imagine if we had a leader here or a member of government who would say, look, I'm overweight. I'm challenging this country and I'm challenging myself to lose 30 pounds. Because as we all know, diseases like diabetes make it very, very difficult for Barbadians. It's a tremendous burden on our hospital. But so if you had, and I hereby challenge any member of government or the opposition to say they will lose 30 pounds, because I think that will cut QEH's bill by 30%. That's my challenge to every member of the government.
Excellent.
Yes, and that is an excellent segue for us to go to our next feature, which is on diabetes, part 2 of our special feature on diabetes, right here on Bajan Living. Today we have the Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of the Barbados Diabetes Foundation, Dr. Oscar Jordan, and the Diabetes Specialist Physician, Diane Braffett. Diane, how can diabetes be controlled?
Well, I'm going to talk mostly about the control of type 2 diabetes. I'm going to start with the basics, or the cornerstone of what I consider its management, which is really lifestyle modification. That means adopting a healthier lifestyle, which includes a combination of regular physical activity and sensible eating. So when we start talking about physical activity, if we are realistic about it, our lifestyles will change dramatically. We're no longer as physically active, maybe as our predecessors were. Our bodies were actually meant to be exercising bodies, not immobile bodies. And so therefore, it may mean that you may have to pick up either a sport or an activity like walking, running, riding. I always tell people I think it's important to do things that you enjoy doing, because sometimes it can be a bit hard to stick to something you don't enjoy doing. And the general recommendations are that adults should be getting at least 30 minutes of exercise, a minimum of 3 times a week, but ideally 5 days of the week. And it's important to spread that throughout the week.
We should talk a little bit about why people are less active than they were. Transportation, motorized transportation. People drive from A to B. In previous generations, people walked or rode bicycles. And it's not uncommon for people to work at the computer all day, come home, put their feet up, turn on the television, take a packet of crisps or something and consume. And that is a lethal combination. And then we have to talk about the fast food lifestyle. People are busy, and therefore it's very necessary for them to be able to have meals on call, quickly. And the fast food culture has served that need. Unfortunately, it's been associated with foods that are full of sugar, salt, fat, and calories.
So the question is how do you move from that kind of unhealthy eating culture into a more healthy eating culture? I think first of all it calls for a little bit of planning, and then a little bit of self-education as well. You have to invest in your health. At the same time, you'll take the time to play your games and the other things. You just need to take a few moments to educate yourself about what it is to have a healthy diet, and looking at how you can limit things like the saturated fats in your diet. Be sensible about the amounts of carbohydrates that you're eating, and in general just eat a lot healthier, really. Eating more vegetables, a reasonable proportion of fruits, and if necessary you get the necessary help from a dietitian. If you are diabetic, it is especially important, I believe, to work with a dietitian, because they help you to balance your meals and your carbohydrate loads throughout the day for you. With diabetes, everybody's body is very individual and their metabolism is very individual as well. So sometimes what works for one person doesn't work as well for another person.
Gran, not so fast. Wait for us.
Come on. The shop is going to close soon, and I want time to really go through the books.
Since Gran got her electric scooter from Carib Rehab, she always wants to be out and about. What a joy that extra mobility has been to her.
From canes to commodes, at Carib Rehab, you'll get the equipment, the expertise, and the empathy to help you care for and bring comfort and convenience to aging folk.
Let's go for a walk.
Oh, Gran, where I want to know.
Carib Rehab, caring for you for 25 years strong. Visit the Carib Rehab showroom at Friendship Estate St. Michael, Monday to Friday 8 to 4 and Saturday 9 to 12 for personal and professional service.
Yes, and we're back with Bajan Living, and I have a significant birthday which I had neglected to put in. You know, Andrew, you were able to say it's your mother's birthday,
Yeah,
and
get
I almost get in trouble. Yeah, I would have get licks. My father, St. Clair Griffith, he celebrated his birthday this week as well, so belated birthday greetings also to my daddy.
Big up, Daddy.
Big up to Daddy. Yes, happy birthday, Daddy. Now, where we were... Oh, you've got an announcement to make, haven't you? We've got the 1 o'clock news coming up, but this is actually big headlines, isn't it?
Let me just see if Raspberry is here, because he had discussed this with me. I don't know if he's ready to go public.
He's the other side of the glass.
Okay.
You can come in. Come,
Raspberry.
Yes, right now, I had to look into make this announcement for a while now, but I really had opportunity differently. See? So, differently, I know that Barbados got Governor General and thing, but I feel that should be something of the past. And it's for that reason I decided that I would be running for president. And you all will be able to elect me as president.
President of Barbados?
Barbados, yes.
Oh, wow.
So, thank you very much. Thank you.
You should get a lot of support.
So, I will probably be launching my campaign formally later on. But this is the first time I mention it actually in public. So, I'd like to thank you all for your support. As far as I know, nobody else ain't running yet. So, I should be a shoo-in.
Excellent. Thank you very much indeed, Ras.
Thanks. Just cool.
I hope you have a good party behind you and you have a good venue for that party.
Everything's set. Place gone around.
Yeah.
Now, Andrew's still here. He's still in the studio. Andrew, you just wanted to very briefly mention about diabetes.
I just really want to say that if we could really improve our lifestyle, I think it would make a big change for Barbados as a whole. That's why I ride my bicycle and come out here to CBC.
Yeah.
That's why I try to walk, I try to play a little basketball, do little things, and try not to eat too much pie. You know, things in moderation, eat more veg, eat more fruit, eat the things that all wrong. We eat golden apples, eat breadfruit. Use these things and don't eat all the grease and the chicken and thing all the time. Try and eat a little more veg, a little more fruit. Enough respect, Bajans. Please try to live a more healthy lifestyle.
Okay, well, we've got a little surprise for you because I know this song is something that's very special to you, and this is our way of saying thank you and goodbye to Andrew Pilgrim.
There was a boy,
big tune boy,
a very strange, enchanted boy. They say he wandered very far over land and sea. A little shy and sad of eye, but very wise was he. And then one day, a magic day, he passed my way. And while we spoke of many things, fools and kings, this he said to me: the greatest thing
sounds so slow
you ever learn is just to love and be loved in return.
A very quick, very late thank you to you, Andrew Pilgrim. It's time to say goodbye, Peter.
Goodbye, Peter.
Thanks, guys.
Goodbye, Andrew.
Thanks,
Goodbye,
Peter.
Goodbye, Billy.
Bye. Thank you, everyone.